Make sure your kids know that there's a racist and cultural reason why Black American families are more likely to be eating sweet potato pie on Thanksgiving, whereas white families are more likely to be eating pumpkin pie. Sarah Josepha Hale, the mother of Thanksgiving, helped to make pumpkin pie a national symbol in the 1800s. She pushed Thanksgiving as a unifying holiday with Abraham Lincoln until he solidified her wishes in 1863, and pumpkin pie became the dessert of choice for white middle-class families, primarily because pumpkins were grown in the North. And Sarah Josepha Hale, who was against slavery, was able to proliferate the message that pumpkin pie was the dessert of choice by mainstream America because she was a best-selling cookbook author who also popularized turkey on Thanksgiving. But there's more. During the abolitionist movement, pumpkins were used as a subtle protest against slavery. They symbolized rural simplicity and free labor. And these were ideals abolitionists celebrated as the moral opposite of the plantation economy. Pumpkins and pumpkin pie were tied to Northern anti-slavery values, reinforcing their place in mainstream culture. Now, of course, you have to also consider that this wasn't the case for every white person that partook in pumpkin pie. Now, at the same time, sweet potato pie, rooted in African culinary traditions, was already loved in Black communities. Enslaved Black folks would transform sweet potatoes, which was one of the few crops they had access to, into a cultural staple. It's worth noting as well that this crop reminded them of the yam, which they had access to in West Africa. But during the Jim Crow era of segregation, sweet potato pie was stigmatized as a poor man's food and associated with negative stereotypes regarding Black folks, and as such was excluded from Thanksgiving narratives, which were shaped by white ideals and cultural customs. So pumpkin pie became associated with Northern white folks because it symbolized resistance to the Southern way of life or enslavement, and it also symbolized rural simplicity and small farming. And in mainstream white culture, sweet potato pie symbolized a backward Southern way of life and an acceptance of slavery, whereas to Black folks it symbolized culinary resistance and a reminder of Africa. Now, before you go explain this to your kids, let me know, do you prefer sweet potato pie or pumpkin pie? And if you're Black and you prefer pumpkin pie, I'm curious to know if you grew up in a household where y'all ate it or you just adopted that later on. And the same thing for white folks. If you prefer sweet potato pie, I'm curious to know, did you grow up in a house eating that, or was it something that you adopted later on? Let me know.